Tim Scott gives a Republican address to Biden's speech to the nation, and he's a very pleasant guy. His delivery is very pleasant. He tells pleasant stories about how he found Christ and he became a Christian, and he had racism, but his mom and grandma and grandpa and everybody just bootstrapped it, and they were so pleasant, and they just got past it, leaving out his entire career, which is taking corporate cash and then voting with corporations. Yeah, okay, I'm sure your parents and grandparents were wonderful people. I say that with all earnestness, right? And I'm sure that they taught you the value of hard work and you did all that and etc. But then what are you doing now, right? And so you want to make sure you protect corporations, but not necessarily African Americans. So will you vote to lower the corporate tax rate and make sure that your donors get even richer? But when it comes to voting rights for African Americans, you didn't know they brought you out in specific to tell everybody that America is not racist and that we don't need to expand voting rights for African Americans, to tell them sweet little pleasant lies about how the Republicans are actually in favor of expanded access to voting? Nah. No, number one, that is an outrageous lie. Number two, Tim Scott, it's a lie. And number three, you helping to perpetuate that lie shows you, unfortunately, and it's saddening, what your career is all about. So you can give a pleasant speech, but your record isn't pleasant. And I'll give him credit for his lies being more sophisticated, right? So he does an incredibly weak police reform bill. And then he says, can you believe the Democrats wouldn't even vote for my police reform bill? I was trying to reform the police and they wouldn't do it. Yeah, because you were like, oh, let's reform them by giving them flowers and more of the things that they want. No, look, in all honesty, without the hyperbole, he knows that it's misleading to say that his incredibly weak proposal on police reform was voted against by the Democrats, as if the Democrats are against police reform, right? Now, look, I think Democrats are against police reform, the corporate Democrats are, but not for those reasons, okay? And progressives are definitely in favor of police reform and 10 times the police reform that you propose in your bill. He knows all that. So all of it was sweet little lies.
That's why he can gloss over that part with the police reform stuff on Tim Scott. The reason why you can say it so quickly and say, I passed this bill, or I tried passing this bill, no Democrats will get on board. Well, why not? I mean, I know this is a speech that's contained in a small section, but if you want to elaborate on what you've done with police reform, tell us, what is it about the Democrats' bill that you dislike so much, since you're into police reform, right? But also, the reason you can gloss over it quickly is because he knows a significant percentage of his voters don't care. They don't care. Hey, and if people did care about his police reform bill, wouldn't you be pitching that and selling it all the time to your voters? To your voters, who, by the way, as people have been pointing out, many were against the verdict that came down for George Floyd's murderer. So if your supporters are against any kind of accountability for police, what is in your bill? Is it for accountability? What is it that's in it that would actually change things? Why? Yeah. So if you can say that this one group, man, they just don't want anything to do with police reform, it just doesn't make sense. Which side is fighting over the police not actually reforming or changing what they're doing with their practices? We know who that is. Your supporters are the ones that are in favor of that. So what are you pitching to them that's going to change it? Or do you not mind the way it is?
Yeah, look, I just want to double down on what Jayar said, because if you notice, not just on police reform, but on every issue, he never talked about the specifics. Joe Biden would say, here's how many jobs are going to get created. Here's the number of electric charging stations we're going to create. He actually had a stunning number of specifics. When it came to Tim Scott, now granted he has a shorter time, we're fair, right? But he never mentioned any of the specifics. You know why? Because the specifics are awful. So he did things like, well, the Democrats just won't reach out to Republicans. About the infrastructure bill, he had a line that he thought was really cute, and I'm sure the media will like it. They won't even build bridges to build bridges. Now, the part he leaves out is, yeah, the Republicans burned the bridge. We vote no on every bill. no matter how much they give us, we'll all vote no on it, including me. I'll vote no, 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 no. And I don't want any infrastructure bill. I'm pretending that I want some of it, which is a tiny little fraction of it, just so I can come out here and lie to you and go, we want an infrastructure bill. We just want to spend $2.50 on it. And we want all $2.50 to go to my donors. But hey, they won't even build bridges. To build bridges. Get out of here. The press might buy because they're suckers. The rest of us won't.
And where were they during the Trump years when they had unified control? They could have passed any of these bills and they chose not to. They tried to get rid of the ACA. That's what they did. They passed a tax cut bill, and they tried to get rid of the ACA. Yeah, his stuff was so fundamentally condescending. You can't listen to it and think about it critically and come away with a positive opinion about it. When he says, not just in general, vaguely, that these voter suppression bills actually make it easier to vote. He said very specifically, in Georgia, it in fact makes it much easier to vote. Well then, why are the Democrats against it? Is it a big goof? Are they just willing? Like they're trying to stop the bill. So do they not actually want more people to vote? Have all these activists been lying about that and they're just totally off base? It doesn't make any sense. It's so obviously condescending. Yeah, I don't know who it's supposed to be for, that speech. I guess. Are they building him up as a future public figure? I honestly don't know. Like the delivery wasn't good.
Yeah.
There was no substance there.
Yeah, I want to talk more about this in the post game for our members. So tyt.com/join. And by the way, La Tet Spin, Ruby Rudy, and Liz Bounds just joined by hitting the join button below on YouTube. Love having you guys as members, and thank you for allowing us to put this on. But I want to give one last point to executive producer of our show who got me a message on this, Anna Kasparian. She made a great point. This speech was really for old school Republicans, okay? This is not for the new Trump Republicans. This was not populist enough. He talked about going to church and all these pleasant things. Now they were lies, but they were pleasant. It's not populist. The Trump Republicans have no interest in this. The Republican voters looked at it and go, oh, black man saying the things we want, good. I'm bored, he didn't even attack Latinos, I hate this guy. And they clicked out. So the good news is it didn't really work. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.